Hello guys, good afternoon. Hope you all can hear me. Okay, welcome to the session guys. So I have shared my screen. Hope you can see the screen as well. Okay, so let us start the session. Yesterday we have completed our first demo. In that I have told you what is DevOps and what is Google Cloud Platform. And I have also told you what is the curriculum that we are going to cover in this entire DevOps sessions. Okay, so that is what we have discussed yesterday. If you guys have missed the demo session first, you can able to connect with the admin. They will be able to share you the demo session. Okay, so today is our second demo, and I'm going to start with why we need the cloud platform. This is a very fast basic topic that we are going to cover first, and then we will see the basic concepts related to the Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so first thing is that if you go 10 years before or a 15 years before, people were working in a traditional working model. Okay, so how the traditional working model will people were used to work, and in the current scenario, how these people are working. So let us try to understand one by one. Okay, so for example, let us consider an organization wanted to roll out a new application 10 years before. This is an era of 10 years before, guys. So in 10 years before, if an organization wanted to roll out a new application, the business comes up with a requirement for the application. So if they wanted to create any kind of an application, the business will comes up with a requirement. So what is the requirement? What is the purpose of that particular application? So the business comes up with a requirement for the application, and there will be a business analyst will be there, and he will be gathering the needs from the business and analyzes it and converts it into a set of high level technical requirements. Okay, and then he passes that information to the solution architect. Okay, so whenever any organization, if they want to roll out a new application, the business comes up with a requirement for the application. The business analyst will gather the needs from the business and analyzes it and converts it into a set of high level technical requirements, and then he passes that information to the solution architect. Now, the solution architect will design the architecture to be followed for the application deployment, right? So, what is the solution architect will do, sir? A solution architect is the one creating the entire architecture to be followed for the deployment of this application. So that may involve, so what kind of a programming language that we are going to use, and what are the infrastructure details that we are going to use, and what is the specification type, the count of servers required for the front end web server and the back end web server, databases, load balancers, and data processing systems. Everything is properly mentioned in an architecture diagram. So that is how the solution architect will create an entire solution architecture diagram, so that different teams are going to work on each and every individual activity. So there will be a back-end team, they will be working on the back-end activities. There's a front-end team, they'll be working on the front-end activities based on this particular architecture diagram. Okay, so that is how the solution architect will do. So whatever the code that they have developed, that needs to be deployed on top of the infrastructure. At that point of time, 10 years before, if you are following the traditional working model, they do not have any cloud platform, so they are have to deploy that application on top of the traditional data center. Sorry, traditional data center. That means the on-premises data center that the company is managing. Okay, so if the solution architect, whatever the diagram he has mentioned, so the code will be prepared by the developers, and the infrastructure has to be available where, sir? If you are following the traditional architecture, the company has to manage their entire infrastructure on its own. The company has to manage this entire infrastructure. So such kind of a company or such kind of infrastructure or a model, we call it as an on-premises environment. Okay, we call this as an on-premises environment. So when you are following a traditional architecture, their entire application, whatever the code that they are developing, needs to be deployed on top of the on-premises environment only. Okay, so now the solution architect is already created the architecture diagram that may involve the count of servers, how many servers we need, what is the front end web server, what is the back end web server, what is the load balancer, and what is the specification types, and what is the other infrastructure details. So he will be mentioning entire things in the solution architecture diagram. So all of these things will be mentioned in the architecture diagram. Now, if these entire things are already available in this company's infrastructure, if this entire things, whatever he has mentioned, if this entire things are available in the company's infrastructure, nothing but on-premises environment, the code will be directly deployed on top of this environment. Okay, if that entire infrastructure is already available in that company's data center or company's on-premises environment, the application team will directly deploy this code on top of this infrastructure. But most of the times, that entire infrastructure may not be available. That entire infrastructure may not be available for that the code cannot be deployed on top of this infrastructure. The code cannot be deployed on top of this infrastructure. At that point of time, what we have to do, guys? Can you guess it? What the company will do? If the infrastructure is not available in the on-premises environment that they are maintaining or the data center that they are maintaining, so what they have to do now? Can you guess it?
They have to increase their infrastructure.
They have to purchase the infrastructure, yes or no?
They have to purchase the hardware, servers.
Correct. So what happens is that the solution architect, whatever the architecture diagram he has mentioned, if that particular infrastructure or hardware is not available in the on-premises data center. So in this data center, they are maintaining, this is the data center, the company's data center, we are calling it as. Okay. If that entire infrastructure is not available in the data center, so the solution architect will create a request to the procurement team. If the additional hardware is needed, they would have to order it via procurement team. Now the procurement team will connect with the vendors team. Procurement team will connect with the vendors team. Okay. So now the procurement team will create a new request to the vendors team. Now the vendors team will take days, sometimes weeks, or even sometimes months also for the entire hardware to be purchased and deliver it to the data center. Okay, so this is how the vendors team going to work on. So whatever the infrastructure that they wanted for the application deployment, if it is already available in the data center, they don't need to worry about it. But if it is not available in the data center, the solution architect will create a request to the procurement team. Procurement team will connect with the vendors team. Vendors team will purchase the hardware and they are going to deliver it to the data center. They are going to purchase it and deliver it to the data center. So that is what happens. Okay, so this is how all the things will happen. Now once the hardware is received at the data center, the field engineers will come into the picture. The field engineers will come into the picture. Okay, what the field engineers will do, sir? The field engineers will take care of the rack and stack mechanism. So whatever the hardware that they have received, right, they are going to assemble, or they are going to arrange it in the rack and stack. Okay, that is how they are going to work on the rack and stack in charge of their entire systems. And after that, the system admins will come into the picture. They are going to take care of the initial configuration of the system, and the network admins will come into the picture, and they are going to make sure that the entire infrastructure or entire systems are available over the network. After that, the storage admins will assign the storage to these systems, and the backup admins will take care of the backup of these particular entire storages. And that's where the application team will come, and what they have created code, right? So application team will create a code, and that code will be deployed on top of this data center, which was properly created by the field engineers, system admins, storage admins, and backup admins. So they are going to deploy the code on top of this data center infrastructure. Okay, so this is how it happens in the traditional working model, sir. In a traditional working model, if an organization wanted to roll out a new application, if they wanted to create a new application, sir, so first the business comes up with a requirement for the application, and then the business analyst will try to gather the information from the business and try to convert it into a set of high level technical requirements, and then he passes that information to the solution architect. Now the solution architect will create an entire architecture diagram to be followed for the architecture for the entire application deployment. And if that entire infrastructure is already available in the data center, then there is no problem. If the additional hardware is required, they are going to create a request to the procurement team. Procurement team will connect to the vendors team. Vendors team now purchase the hardware and deliver it to the data center. Now, once the hardware is received at the data center, the field engineers need to take care of the rack and stack to assemble or arrange the entire infrastructure or the hardware properly. And then the system admins will come into the picture. They will take care of the initial configuration of the system. And the network admins will take care of the network configuration so that the entire systems are available over the network. And the storage admins will take care of the storage, assigning the storage to these systems. The backup admins will take care of the backup for all of these storages. And now the application team, what they have developed the code, they are going to deploy it on top of this data center. Okay, so this is how the entire end-to-end workflow for an application scratch to the deployment in the traditional working model. In a traditional working model, who is maintaining this data center, sir? Can you guys guess it? Who is maintaining this data center?
Cloud, sir. Cloud people.
Who is maintaining
GCP.
this data center in the traditional working model, guys?
Traditionally, infrastructure people.
So the company has to maintain this entire infrastructure. In the company, there will be an operations team or an infrastructure team will be there. They have to maintain this entire data center. Okay, the company has to take care of this entire infrastructure, the entire details, hardware, everything in the data center only. They have to take care of the 24/7 electricity for the data center. So this is how a typical data center looks like. Okay, they have to, if they wanted to create a new data center, they have to purchase the land and they have to do this entire construction. And after that, this is what we call as a rack and stack. So the rack and stack looks like this. So inside the rack and stack, the storages, hardware, everything will be situated like this. And they have to maintain this entire mechanism, entire storage of this hardware, whatever the hardware or software that they wanted to maintain. So this is how a typical data center looks like. So all of these things the company has to maintain. So that is how it happens in the 10 years, 15 years before. People does not have any cloud platform. People were maintaining their own data center. When I say own data center, own infrastructure, their details, they have to purchase it and they have to deliver it to the data center. They have to manage this entire things. 24/7 electricity is required for this data center. 24/7 cooling supply, nothing but a water supply is required, and the security personals and plenty of other things also need to be taken care for this entire setup. Okay, so that is where the companies are facing a lot of issues working with this traditional working model. Okay, so let us try to do one point, that is that let us try to create a challenges that the traditional systems were facing. Okay, traditional people, when they were working in a traditional working model, what are the challenges that the companies are facing? Let us try to look at it first. So when they are working in a traditional working model, the traditional working model is very slow working model. Can you guys guess it why it is very slow? It's because if they wanted to create a new application, they have to go it one by one, step by step. Multiple teams are working behind the scene, and they have to make sure that all of these things are working. And sometimes the purchasing may take some time, or delivering it to the data center may take some time. Field engineers may take some time according to the challenges that they are facing. So that is the reason the turnover time varies from weeks to months to everything to be ready for the application deployment. So if one wanted to do this application deployment, if the application team wanted to deploy the things, everything has to be ready. Okay, so that is the reason the turnover time varies from weeks to months to everything to be ready for the application deployment. So that is the reason we call it as a slow deployment model. The traditional working model is a slow deployment model. It's because we are spending a lot of time on many things which are not important but which has to be taken care as per the process. And it is very expensive model, sir. The overall cost to deploy and maintain this working model is very high. It's because many people are working behind the scene and we need to take care of our own data center. Taking care of the own data center itself, it is very costly process. Okay, so that is the reason the traditional working model is a very expensive model. And one more is limited automation. While some aspects of the infrastructure can be automated here, but most of the steps such as rack and stack, admins and system configuration and network configurations, storage assigning and backup assigning. So all of these things are has to be done manually only. Okay, some of the aspects can be automated, but most of the steps cannot be automated. So that is the reason we call it as a limited automation. The traditional models follows a limited automation. Okay, and one more thing is that with so many teams working on so many different tasks, with so many teams working on with so many different tasks in the back end, so that there are chances that the human error. So when they are working on a different tasks, the chances of human error is very high. This may result in the inconsistency in the environment. So this may result in the inconsistency in the environment. So many teams are working on behind the scene, the procurement team, vendors team, field engineers team, system admins, storage admins, backup admins. Many teams are working behind the scene. So this may result in the human error, which leads to the inconsistency in the environment. Another major disadvantage for the traditional working model is that we are going to waste a lot of resources because whatever the infrastructure that we have purchased for this particular application deployment, we may not be utilizing it 100%. So that is the reason. The another major disadvantage is that the underutilization of the compute resources. Underutilization of the compute resources. So this is how the traditional working model is a slow working model, slow deployment model, and it is very expensive, and it is a limited automation. Chances to the human error is there. It leads to the inconsistency in the environment and wasted resources. So this is how the traditional working model have a plenty of challenges. So that's where the companies are looking for a one more alternative solution. Okay, so due to these many disadvantages over the past decades, the organizations wanted to look for a one more alternative solution. So that's where they got a one more alternative solution, that is cloud providers. Cloud platforms came into the picture. So that's where the companies are, instead of maintaining their own data center, instead of maintaining their own field engineer system, backup storage, all of these things, what they have tried to do is that they wanted to move their entire projects to the cloud. Okay, because they don't want it to go for the slow deployment model. When you are working in the cloud platforms, the working model is very faster. It because comparatively, you do not have a procurement team, vendors team, field engineers, system admins, storage admins, backup admins. You don't need to maintain the data center also, right? So that is the reason. That is the reason the cloud platforms are. It is not a slow deployment model. It is a faster deployment model when you are working in a cloud platforms. One more advantage is that, so it is when you are working in a traditional working model, the turnover cost or the overall cost of this entire working model is very high. But when you are working in the cloud platforms, it is very less, and it is cheap also. Most of the things are cheap. It's because the cloud platforms are going to provide you the resources with less expensive, so you can directly go for the cloud platforms. Okay, so you don't need to maintain the data center, you don't need to maintain this all of these things. So that is the reason the cost of the particular working model is very less. The cloud platforms, the cloud computing model is very less. And one more thing is that in the cloud, we are going to work with everything as an API. So if you are working with everything as an API, so automation is very high. So that is the reason cloud platforms have a higher automation capabilities compared to the traditional working model. And you do not have a procurement team, sorry. You do not have a procurement team, no field engineers, no data centers, no system admins, backup admins, all of these things. So now you do not have a many teams working behind the scene. So that is the reason the chances of human error is very less, which does not lead to the inconsistency in the environment. And you are going to use whatever the resources that you need, and there is a scaling up and down options are also there in the cloud platforms. So that is the reason the wasting the resources is lesser compared to the traditional working model. Okay, so utilization of the resources is high compared to the traditional model. So that is the reason most of the people are looking towards the cloud platforms. Most of the projects are migrating to the cloud platforms. It's because the working model is very faster, it is less expensive, higher automation is there, less human error, less inconsistency, higher utilization of the resources. Okay, so this is the reason most of the cloud platforms most of the companies are looking towards the cloud platforms instead of the traditional working model. In a simple terms, if I have to say what is traditional versus what is cloud, in an on-premises or a traditional working model, the company and an organization has to manage its own infrastructure to run their code or applications. If I have if I have a company, if they wanted to create an application, they have to maintain their own infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, it could be a server, hardware, software, networking, and storage. If the company is managing their own infrastructure for their application deployment process, then that company, you call it as a traditional working model. In a cloud computing model, a cloud provider delivering the infrastructure as a service. So this company, if they wanted to create a new application, they are going to depend on the cloud platforms. They are going to depend on the cloud platform. These cloud platforms provide the infrastructure for the application deployment. So such kind of a deployment model, we call it as a cloud computing model. Cloud computing model. So in an on-premises working model, an organization is managing its own infrastructure to run their code or an application. But in a cloud computing model, a cloud provider delivering you the infrastructure as a service to you, so that the companies are going directly for the application deployment instead of focusing on the infrastructure. Okay, so this is what we call as the difference between the traditional working model as well as a cloud computing model, sir. Okay, so this is the reason we need the cloud platforms. Okay, so can you guys tell me if you guys have any questions? Can you raise your hand so that let us see if you have any questions? If anyone have any questions. On
No,
premises,
sir.
someone said, what is on premises? On premises is something that you are in your own company, you are managing the data center in your on premises, in your nearby premises, you are managing your own infrastructure as a data center. In a data center, you are managing the infrastructure. That is the reason you call it as an on premises environment. The deployment of the application is going to be happening in the data center, which is near to you, which is maintained by you. So that is the reason it is called as an on premises. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. I think you guys are clear about this one. Okay. So let me go to them. Let me gonna tell you what is Google Cloud Platform one more time, because we are going to enter into the GCP basic concepts from today onwards. Google Cloud Platform is one of the leading cloud provider, as I told you. So cloud platforms are very important for the companies because they don't need to worry about the infrastructure creation from the scratch. The infrastructure is already ready, so they can start creating the resources for their projects. So that is how. So one of the cloud platform is a Google Cloud Platform, which is one of the leading cloud provider, and highly in a recent terms, the growth rate for the Google Cloud Platform is very high compared to the even Azure as well as AWS. The growth rate. So Google Cloud Platform is one of the leading cloud provider. They provide you the products and solutions for the organizations to build, deploy, and scale the applications and services in the cloud. What they do, sir, they are going to provide you the products as well as solutions for the organizations so that they can build the application or deploy the application or scale the applications and services in the cloud. Okay, sir, what are those services that the GCP is providing? So GCP is providing compute services. It is also providing identity and security services. It provides you the management tools, networking tools, big data tools, storage and database services, machine learning services. So Google Cloud Platform is providing you the services which are required for the IT companies. If you wanted to deploy the application, you go for the compute options. If you wanted to take care of the big data, you go for the big data. If you wanted to have a backend database, you go for the backend database. If you wanted to create a networking component, you go for the networking category. If you wanted to build your machine learning model, you go for the machine learning. So such that they are going to provide you wide range of services so that the companies can benefit of the using these services. And as I already told you, the cloud platforms are less expensive compared to the traditional working model. Okay, and not only that, they are going to provide you the services highly reliable, secure, scalable infrastructure that enables businesses to leverage the power of Google's extensive global network and data center. So these services, what they are providing, they are highly reliable and secure, and scaling up and down can also be possible within the Google's data center itself. Okay, so that is how it is. And these are the services that are provided, a suite of services. This is what I call as a suite of GCP services. And why we learn the GCP? Sir, what is the reason why we are learning the GCP, or why the companies are looking towards the GCP? It's because Google Cloud Platform has a very good community support. Google has a very good community support, and the cost of the service for the Google Cloud resources compared to the other cloud platform is very less. So Google Cloud Platform is providing you these services are very less cost effective. Cost effective, that means very less cost they are going to provide for that. So if you go for the virtual machines or any other resource in the service, for example, one service in the GCP, service in the Azure, service in the AWS, if you categorize, the cost of the GCP is very lesser. If you 30, it could be 40 here, it could be 50 here. The cost of the GCP services are cost effective. So that is the reason most of the companies are looking towards the GCP because of its cost effective nature. Not only that, these services are very flexible and we can customize it easily. And these services are scalable according to your requirement, according to the demand of the application. It will be scaling up and down as per the requirement. And these services are trustworthy and reliable. Secure services it is going to be providing. Properly take care of the access control also here. And it is providing you the 3 levels of services: VM based services, fully managed services, and serverless services. In our upcoming sessions, we will see what is meant by VM based, what is meant by fully managed, what is meant by serverless. Okay, so they are going to provide you the fully managed services as well as serverless services as well. And the interface and the service is very faster. The operating the services are very faster. The interface, Google interface also very looks simple, and you can easily understand the interface also. Okay, so because of these reasons, most of the companies are started using the GCP. Even some of the projects from the AWS and Azure also migrated to the GCP because of these reasons. Okay, so the project operational cost will be very less when you are working in the GCP compared to the AWS and Azure. So that is the reason most of the companies are opting for the GCP for their projects, and that is where the plenty of the companies are hiring for the GCP DevOps engineers. So GCP is one of the leading market leader, one of the leading cloud provider. Industry adaptation is there. It is providing you the comprehensive service portfolio, as I told you right just now. So this is what is our comprehensive service portfolio, and it is, I have just shown you only few 2000 plus services and products it is going to be providing you, and can be easily compatible and integrated with all other systems and with the on-premises also. It's providing you the machine learning capabilities as well. Google has its own infrastructure which is available throughout the world. Even in India, also we have two data centers in Mumbai as well as Delhi, are very useful for the multi-cloud projects as well. And Google's certification will very good, and it's going to be leading to the very good career growth opportunities. Okay, whoever has done a certification in the GCP has a kind of plus when they are going for an opportunity, when they are going for a job. So the certification people are having a very good career growth. So that is the reason most of the companies are opting for their candidates to go for the certification. Okay, so this is how learning the GCP is, because giving you the job. It is a market leader, industry adaptation is there, comprehensive service portfolio is there, integration and compatibility with the on-premises services, providing you the machine learning capabilities. It has its own infrastructure available throughout the world, and it is also very important for the multi-cloud projects. Certification and career growth is also there. And what is the growth rate if you wanted to see? The growth rate for the GCP is even more than the AWS and Azure, because the GCP becomes highly, commonly nowadays most of the companies are using it. It's because of its cost effective nature and a reliable nature. So that is the reason the growth rate for the GCP in the last quarter was very high. And it is providing you the roles like a GCP data engineer, GCP developer, GCP admin, GCP DevOps, GCP networking, and GCP solution architect. Nothing but a cloud architect, you can call it as cloud architect. So all of these things GCP is going to offering you, and it is going to be offering us the certifications like DevOps engineer as well as cloud engineer. Okay, so this is how so far we have seen the basics about the GCP, and as well as why we need the cloud platform. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me, guys. You can raise your hand. So we are going to start with our topic, that is how to interact with the GCP services.
Sir, I wanted to
Sorry.
get the difference between the role of the GCP DevOps engineer and GCP cloud engineer. So,
So
what is
cloud
the
engineer is
basic?
different. Cloud engineer you can think of like the one who is managing the cloud activities. Okay, cloud engineer is different. He is managing the just cloud activities. Okay, he may work on some development, he may work on some admin activities, but the DevOps engineer is directly managing the infrastructure on the GCP. Okay, cloud DevOps engineer is someone that who is mainly focused on the infrastructure building, CI/CD, and continuous integration, continuous configuration management, and many other things. Okay, he is the one who is totally managing that entire project. So if the development project is there, if they wanted to work on the deployment side, entire deployment has to be created, and continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline has to be created, and then infrastructure has to be automated, and everything, build a server, deployment server has to be created. So that's where the cloud DevOps engineer is going to work on. And cloud engineer is generic one. He just do the cloud activities. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone?
So, cloud engineer basically create the infrastructure type.
So I mean, it totally depends on the project. Okay. So in that particular project, that is what happens nowadays is that they say one role and they do one activity on some other task. So it totally depends on that. He is a generic role. It's a generic role. He can work on any other activity. We can't say that because it's a generic role. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is it for this is it, guys. So we are going to start with. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to start with our very GCP basic concept. So this is our second topic: how to interact with the GCP. Okay, we have seen why we need the cloud platform and the difference between the traditional working model as well as cloud computing model. And I've told you also just some overview of the GCP. And now we are entered into the GCP interfaces. You can also call it as GCP interfaces. which tells you how to interact with the GCP services. Sir, in Google Cloud Platform, we have a plenty of services. Right, sir, in GCP platform, we have a compute services, identity and security services, management tools, networking, big data, storage and databases, and machine learning. Sir, if I wanted to work with all of these services, so how I can be able to work with this one? How to interact with these services, sir? So if you wanted to interact with any of these services, we have first tool, that is console. Our console is a web user interface. We have a cloud shell, which is a command line interface. We have a SDK, which is a software development kit. Again, it is a command line interface. And there can be a third-party tools and APIs also. They can also interact with these GCP services. So if one wanted to interact with the GCP services, they have like 4 methods. So this is third-party tools. They can use any other third-party tool. We are not much interested in this one. We have mainly the console, Cloud Shell, and Cloud SDK. Let us try to understand what is console. So console, first thing. So console is one of the graphical user interface. Sorry. So it's a graphical user interface tool to interact with the GCP services. With the help of this console, we are going to interact with the GCP services. Sir, what is our agenda? Let me gonna try to make a simple thing, clear it out. So if I wanted to create some infrastructure, or if I wanted to create some CI/CD pipeline, or if I wanted to do some configuration management, or if I wanted to take care of the cloud logging and monitoring, if I wanted to do anything, we need to interact with the GCP services, right? So we may have to do the deployment, so that we may have to interact with the GCP services. Sir, if I wanted to interact with the GCP services, so what are the ways that we are talking about now? So our main agenda is that we wanted to do the DevOps activities. Can you guys tell me what is the DevOps activities that we are as a DevOps engineer, what we are going to work on? Can you guys tell me? We need to work on the DevOps activities. When I say DevOps activities, you are going to work on
CI/CD pipeline,
infrastructure, CI/CD, and you are going to work on
Deployment.
Monitoring.
deployments. You are going to work on deployments, manual deployments, and
Monitoring the infrastructure.
code management.
Monitoring the infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure versioning, managing everything comes into that. CI/CD and logging and monitoring. So many other things will come into the picture, guys. I might have mentioned here the basic thing. So this is how we wanted to do all of these activities. Okay, where we are planning to do all of these activities, sir? Where are we are planning to do all of these activities? Which platform we are wanted to do these activities?
Cloud.
In the Google Cloud Platform, right? So we are planning to do all of these activities in the GCP. Okay, we are planning to do all of these activities in the GCP. Okay, so for that only GCP is providing you plenty of the services for each activity. So for the infrastructure, there is a one services. For creating a CI/CD platform, there is a one service. For deployments, for code management, code repos, and many other things. If you wanted to do, Google Cloud Platform has its own services that we are going to see, the set of services. But in general, so GCP is providing you these services so that you can focus on these activities, DevOps activities. So that is what is the main agenda. But sir, if I wanted to interact with the GCP services, can you tell me, sir, what are the interface methods are there, sir, that we can able to work with these GCP services? If you ask me, sir, we have 3 methods to interact with these services mainly. We have mainly 3 services. 3 methods, I would say. 3 instead of 3 services, I would say 3 methods are there to interact with these services. That first method is, I am telling you, that is console. Okay, so console is a graphical user interface. Next, we have Cloud Shell. And the third thing that we have is SDK. So these are the three methods are there. Sir, if I wanted to work with the GCP interfaces, try to understand this point, sir. So if I wanted to interact with these GCP services, I have a first method that is console. I have a second method that is Cloud Shell, and the third method I have is SDK. So that if I interact with the GCP services, I can do my own activities on the DevOps. Okay, so this is the main agenda, sir, that we are going to look at it. So any method you can choose and you can able to work with the GCP services. Okay, so this is how, so we are going to look at these interfaces. So what are these interfaces, sir? These are the GCP interfaces. So these are the GCP interfaces so that you can look at console or Cloud Shell or SDK so that interact with the GCP services. When you interact with the GCP services, you can focus on these activities. So one of the first method is console. Console is a graphical user interface to work with the GCP services. Okay, sir, with the help of the graphical user interface, if you wanted to work with the GCP services, we are going to interact it visually. So on which way we are going to interact with these services, sir? It's a visually we are going to interact with these services visually. So if I wanted to create any service in the GCP, I am going to go to the visual interface and nothing but a graphical interface, interact with these services visually. So that is what I call as a console. So let me gonna go to the Google Cloud Platform and show you. Sir, our homepage, let me open our homepage is that console.cloud.google.com. If you go to the console.cloud.google.com, so this is how our homepage looks like. So let me gonna create a one more new project for me. Sorry. No, it's not. I have already created my account, free tier account. I'll show you how to create an account maybe in the next session. Okay. So we have to create a free tier account. So we have a free account. They are going to provide you the $300 for the next 90 days. So I will tell you in our upcoming session how we can able to create this free tier account so that we can do all of these activities. Okay, now look at here. This is how our interface looks like. Sir, I wanted to create a virtual machine. So if I wanted to create a virtual machine, what I'm doing here, sir? So what I'm trying to do, I'm going to first visually interacting with this particular virtual machine. Okay, if I wanted to create, 1 minute, guys, not sure. So yeah, I might have disabled this one. So okay, 1 minute. So let me go to the building. Something's wrong with my account. 1 minute. No, this is not my free tier account. Oh, wait a minute, guys. I might have disabled my billing account. But anyway, I'm going to show you here. So this is how the interface looks like for the graphical interface looks like. This is what I call a console. So, sir, if I wanted to create a cloud storage bucket or if I wanted to create a virtual machine, so I'm going to interact with the services visually. So you're going to be looking at that particular service visually and you are going to create a service. So you click on create button and you are going to click on what I can say, you are going to click on that create button, you enter the name, you select the region, you select the machine configuration, so such that if you wanted to do any of those activities, you are going to visually, you are going to look at it and select that particular option, and that is what I'm calling as a visual interface. Okay, so console is a graphical user interface to interact with the GCP services. Here we are interacting visually only. Okay, so this is what I'm calling as a console. Okay, on the other hand, we have a one more service. One more method is also there. On the other hand, we have, so that method I'm calling it as a cloud shell. So if you wanted to interact with the GCP services, you can also use the cloud shell. So cloud shell is a one of the command line interface, sir. Command line interface. If you wanted to interact with the GCP services, we have a command line interface is also there. So to interact with the GCP services. So here we are going to interact with the GCP services via commands. So we issue a command, and that command is according to that particular command, GCP services will be responded. So that is how, if I wanted to interact with any of the services in the GCP, I can use console or I can use cloud shell. Console is a graphical user interface and it is web browsed. It is a web based. So it is a third point, it is a web based. So console will be available over the web only. So that is the reason either you can call it as a web based or browser based. Both are same. And similarly, the cloud shell is also a web based. It is also web based only. So here, if you wanted to work with the cloud shell, you are going to the same console which I have opened here just now, right? You can go to the same console and you're going to be clicking on this activate cloud shell button. Okay, when you click on activate cloud shell button, at the bottom the cloud shell machine will be opened for you. Okay, it's a terminal. Okay, so it's like a cloud shell environment. If you wanted to interact with the GCP services via commands, you can go to this cloud shell terminal. So this is how you have a one more method. So this is what we call as a cloud shell, sir. Here we issue a command, such as like if I wanted to click on ls, you can mention ls commands and all of those things. So gs util ls. So this is how, if you wanted to interact with any of the services in the GCP, we are going to give commands here. Okay, so gs util ls, it's because it does not have any bucket, so that's the reason it is. So if you wanted to create a bucket, or if you wanted to do any commands in a cloud storage, or if you wanted to create a virtual machine, or if you wanted to do the deployment or application deployment, can also be done from this one. Can also be done from here, or can also be done from here. So this is what I call as a console, and this is what I'm calling as a cloud shell. Okay, so this is something. But in the cloud shell, you have two phases. One is terminal. You can also open the editor. Okay, cloud shell having two things, guys. One is cloud shell terminal is there, and one more is cloud shell editor is also there. Terminal is mainly for the commands. If you wanted to run the commands or scripts, so you can go for the terminal. To run the commands or to run the scripts, you can go for that. Editor is like it comes up with a Git capability or a version control capability. Okay, it comes up with the version control capability. We will see what is version control in our upcoming sessions. But in editor, you can create scripts properly. Okay, so you can create the scripts properly. These scripts also be connected to the version control. Here also you can do the Git commands. All of those things also can be done. So in the cloud shell, you have two things. One is cloud shell terminal, and one more is cloud shell editor. So these are the two phases of the cloud shell. One phase is I call it as a cloud shell terminal, and one more phase I call it as a cloud shell editor. Okay, so this is how in the terminal you are going to purely running the commands. In the editor, so it opens up, it's similar to your Visual Studio Code or any code editor. So it is like a code editor where you can create your code, you can version your code, you can run also Git commands, all of those things. So that is how the terminal and editor works. Let me going to show you this editor also. So this is how the editor looks like, guys. So you can have your code management. You can also properly manage your code here. So here you have a version control for capability, source control capability is also there. You can initialize a repo here. So you can connect it to the GitHub app. So everything is possible here. Okay, so that is how here also comes up with the multiple applications if you wanted to deploy it also. So it comes up with the testing capability. So many other things are also there, guys. By default, it has a HashiCorp configuration is also there for the Terraform.
It is like a VS Code editor, na?
Similar to the VS Code. So that is how you will be having all the capabilities here. Terminal and editor. Okay, in a terminal, you can run the commands and scripts. In editor, you can create the scripts and do the version control, which is similar to your code editor, any code editor you can think of. Okay, so this is how the shells are, cloud shell. Okay, so one more advantage with the cloud shell is that cloud shell comes up with a few softwares pre-installed, few client libraries installed already. So pre-installed with the client libraries. So there are few client libraries are already there, which is already installed on top of this cloud shell, such as if you wanted to use Python, you don't need to install it. And on the cloud shell, it is already installed. Java. If you wanted to use Terraform, if you wanted to use kubectl. So all of these commands are already installed. Already these libraries are installed. You don't need to specifically install them. So that is also one more advantage with the cloud shell. If you wanted to see here, so you can go here. Sorry, you can go to the terminal. You can see here Python hyphen version. You can search with it, so you can able to see the Python version. Similarly, Java version. You can able to see OpenJDK 17.0.10. So this is how you can see the Terraform. Terraform is also installed. So most of the client libraries are already installed, so you don't need to specifically install them. So this is a one more advantage you get with the Cloud Shell. Okay, so this is what is Cloud Shell, sir. Cloud Shell is one of the command line interface. To interact with the GCP services, here we are going to issue the commands or scripts. It is a web-based system, so it will be available over the web only, sir. See here, we are inside the console. It is available over the web only. Okay, so that is what is Cloud Shell, and it has comes up the pre-installed client libraries such as Python, Java, Terraform, and kubectl. And it has two phases. One is terminal, one more is editor. Terminal to run your commands and scripts. Editor comes up with the advanced capabilities such as source control and script control and Git and Terraform, many other things. Okay, so you can able to properly create your code properly here with help of the code editor called nothing but a Cloud Shell editor. Okay, so this is what is your Cloud Shell, sir. This is console. This is Cloud Shell. Okay, one is both are web based, one is graphical and user interface. Visually we are going to interact. One is command line interface. Via commands we are going to interact. Okay, do we have any question here, guys? Anyone?
So how do you
Raise
open
your
the
hand, guys. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand, so that would be easy for me to tackle who is talking. And okay, yes, Bala, you have any question? Yeah. In a console, it's a graphical user interface, right? So you don't install anything. Yeah. It's you don't install anything. So that's the reason we call it as a console. It's a console means you are visually interacting them. It's an interface. It's not a command line. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Vidit Gupta.
So how do you open this editor? Terminal, I understand. Editor.
Editor, you just click on it. So you will be having
Achha, this
terminal.
is
You will be having editor. Yeah.
click on open editor. Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
You can also open this entire thing in the new window also, so that you can able to have a good feel of opening it in a separate window, so that you don't need to have it drag and drop like this. Okay, you can
How
have
we
it
will
open.
create the account in this Google Cloud
I'll
account?
show you guys. So in our next session, I'll show you how to create this account. We're just covering the basics, right? Maybe in the next session, I'll tell you how to create this free tier account. Okay.
Sir, what is this Terraform and what is the use of that one? Because yesterday you also showing in our course curriculum that Terraform is there.
Sorry, I didn't get you. This is a free or not? You are asking.
What is this Terraform?
Terraform is an infrastructure tool. If you wanted to create an infrastructure, we are going to use the Terraform. It is an infrastructure management tool.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will see that in our upcoming sessions. Yeah. Okay, so that now you have a separate field that working in a separate edit. It's a separate window tab. It is open, so you can open the editor separately here. So you have the editor at the top, you have the Cloud Shell terminal at the bottom, and this is how you can see here. You can manage this one, and you can also come up with a plenty of if you wanted to change the themes and all of those things also, you can able to come and change your command palette and themes. Everything is here. So if you wanted to come here and change it. Okay, so that is how it is, guys. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, so this is how the Cloud Shell and terminal. And one more is also there, as I told you, which is our third thing, that is SDK. So far we have seen what is console and what is Cloud Shell. Let us try to see what is SDK also. SDK is also very similar to the Cloud Shell. Let me gonna talk about SDK. Okay, so both yes, Cloud Shell and Cloud Console are both are available over the web, but SDK is local based. It's also a command line interface. First thing, it's also a command line interface. Here also we are going to interact with the services visually. Here also we are going to interact with the services visually, but it is local based. Okay, so local based. When I say local based, you can install the SDK on top of your local machine. Okay, sir, I don't wanted to open the Cloud Shell like this one. Okay, I don't want to open the Cloud Shell like this one. I just wanted to open the Cloud Shell from my local machine. Okay, so you can install the SDK. So I have installed the SDK. Let me open it. Okay, you can see here, this is how I have opened the SDK. So once you open the SDK, you can log into your Google Cloud account, and then from here also you can able to interact with the services. Okay, so this is installed on top of your local machine. So that is the reason you call it as a local SDK. SDK is nothing but a software development kit. So can be doing for the development from the local machine also. So that is the reason it is similar to your command line interface shell, and it is also via commands only. We are going to interact with the services in the GCP, and you call it as a SDK, software development kit, which is local based. Okay, so in your local machine, you can also download it. I'll tell you in our upcoming sessions, maybe you can how to install the SDK on top of your local machine and how to do the login and how to interact with the GCP services. In our upcoming sessions, we are going to see. This is just an idea of what is this SDK, what is this console, and what is this Cloud Shell, and how we can able to enable them to work with the different services. Okay, so this is how. The third method is that SDK, which is also a command line interface. So console, let us start from the console. Console is a graphical user interface to work with the GCP services. Visually, we are going to interact with the services, and it is a web-based. On the other hand, we have a Cloud Shell, which is a command line interface to work with the GCP services. Via command, we are going to interact with the services. It is a web-based, and both are web-based. The Cloud Shell and Cloud Console are both are web-based. Cloud Shell comes up with the pre-installed client libraries, so you can able to work with Python, Java, Terraform, and kubectl. And here we have two phases, two types. One is Cloud Shell terminal, and one more is Cloud Shell editor. And SDK, it is a command line interface to work with the GCP services. Sorry, it is not visually. So I forgot that it is not visually. Sir, it's commands. Command line interface means commands only, right? So via commands here, we are going to interact with the GCP services. It is local based, so you can able to download this SDK on top of your local machine and install it, and you can work with the GCP services just logging into your Google Cloud account. That's it. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so these are the three methods that we have in the GCP to work with the multiple services in the Google Cloud platform. Okay, so this is how it works, guys. Does anyone have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is how we have console, Cloud Shell, and SDK, and we are interacting with the GCP services to do our DevOps activities. So these are the DevOps activities that we wanted to do. For that one, we have these GCP interfaces. Okay, so let me gonna tell you. Let me go to my slides. So this is how to interact with the GCP services. I just now told you Cloud Console and Cloud Shell and SDK. And there is a note. These are some of the common ways to interact with the GCP services. The choice of method depends on your preference, requirements, and the type of interaction that you wanted to have it with the GCP resources. Whether it's through a user interface or a command line interface or a APIs or an integration with the third-party tools or applications. So what happens is here is that, so if you wanted to work with any of these method, so it is totally depends on your project requirement, guys. In your project, they say command line interface, you have to work by a command line interface. If they say it is a cloud console, you may have to work by a cloud console. So if you have the flexibility to work with any other things, okay, it's your own option that you can able to choose if you wanted to have an interaction with the console or cloud shell or SDK. Okay, so sometimes people also works with the third party tools. Sometimes people work via SD via some other tools like SSIS, maybe some Power BI. They can able to interact with the GCP services, external services. Okay, and maybe VS Code you can also interact with the GitHub. Also you can able to interact with, so multiple external applications. Also you can able to connect it to the Google Cloud platform. Maybe for the service purpose or the deployment purpose or the storage purpose or anything. Okay, you can able to do that. So this is how the GCP interface is concept, sir. Okay, and now I'm going to tell you the console walkthrough. Okay, so in Google Cloud Platform, how the console will be there and what are the options will be there, each and every option. Let me gonna tell you so that you get some idea. And that's where I'm going to close the session for today. And we are going to take 15 more minutes, and we will be stopping at 3:30 today. Okay, the same like yesterday. So these are the demo sessions only, guys. So that is the reason Node wanted to cover more things. Once the demos are completed, we will dig into the each and every topic and try to look at the in-depth content. Okay, now look at the console walkthrough. As I already told you, okay, let me gonna create some diagram so that you guys can look at it very clearly. So we have already created it here. So I just wanted to add a few more things. Sir, now, okay. Okay, yeah, let me gonna create it here. The same thing, I just wanted to create it in a different way. Sir, I wanted to do the GCP DevOps activities. Okay, GCP DevOps activities. When I say activities, you already know, sir, what is a DevOps engineer will do. Okay, I don't want to tell it all the time. So you guys already know, much aware of it. So GCP DevOps activities, if I wanted to do it in Google Cloud Platform, if you wanted to do it. So let us try to do, if you wanted to do anything in the Google Cloud Platform, we have to create a project first. Okay, we have to create and set up the project. Okay, create. Similarly, okay, one more thing also I wanted to mention it here, and let me gonna tell you in a very clear manner so that you guys get it easy. Okay, some people try to confuse about the project because they come from the Azure background and they do not know what is the project and the behavior of the project. So that's the reason just wanted to make it very clear in this way. So they call it as a resource manager or something like that. So let me gonna tell you, sir, in Google Cloud Platform, this entire thing you can think of a Google Cloud Platform, sir. This thing you can call, okay, sorry. So this thing you can call it as a GCP. Okay, GCP. You are planning to do the GCP DevOps activities. Entire this box is a GCP. You are managing it in the GCP. Let me gonna create it so that you can have it a clear understanding. Okay, so assume that this is your GCP, sir. Inside GCP, I'm going to mention here GCP somewhere here. GCP. This is your GCP environment. Okay, at GCP Google Cloud account. Okay, in GCP, if you wanted to work with the GCP activities, if you wanted to perform your GCP activities, what you usually do is that the very first activity that you do is that create and set up your project. Create and set up project. This is a very, very important and first thing, that everything in the GCP, every resource that you are going to use it in the GCP is going to be tracked via project only. The billing will be done via project only. Okay. So the name is not came properly. Create and set up project. Okay, create and set up the project, sir. So if you wanted to do any of the activities in the GCP, you must go to the Google Cloud platform. You must go to the Google Cloud platform. So this is what I call as a project area. From now on, if I say a project area, you go to this particular option, sir. Okay, so this is your project area. You come here, either you create a new project or you select the existing project. Okay, sir, in Google Cloud platform, if you wanted to do any of the activities, all the things should be contained a project, because a project is a container for your resources. Okay, if you wanted to use any resource, you have to create a project or you have to select the existing project, because a project is a container for your resource container you can think of. Okay, all the billing and everything will be tracked via project only. Okay, a project is nothing but a resource container for tracking all the resources. Okay, and billing. Now you either create a new project or you select the existing project. For creating a new project, where we come here, sir, we click on this project area, we click on this new project, we provide the project name, sir. I wanted to provide a GCP DevOps project, so I provide the project name as GCP provide project name I am providing. And if you wanted to provide the project ID also, you can provide, click on this edit button, you can provide the GCP DevOps, and you can say some 121284. This is my project ID. So this is your project name and project ID. Project name can be changed later also. Project ID cannot be changed later. Okay, both are user choice. You are providing your project name and project ID. So project name can be changed later. Project ID cannot be changed later throughout the project. So if you wanted to create a project, just click on your create project. Okay, if I wanted to tell you, there are three things. Project name. So if you wanted to create a project, sir, three things are there. One is three things. Let me create it, guys, so that you guys can easily get it. Yeah, one is project name. I would create it as a project name and project ID and project number. Okay, this is your project. Whether it is a project name or project ID or project number. Okay, here choice, whose choice it is, and nature. What is the nature of it? Sir, choice. Sir, providing the project name and project ID is a user choice, sir. It is a user choice. That means we are all users, right? So we are the users of the GCP account. So it's a user choice. Project ID and project name. So project ID can be changed later or not. The nature is that can be changed later or not. So project name can be changed later. So for something that we can call it as a mutable. Mutable means can be changed later. Okay, mutable means can be changed later. So project ID cannot be changed later. What we can call it is that, sir. What we can call the cannot be changed. We can call it as an immutable, right? So if you wanted to provide your project name and project ID, both are user choice, but the nature for the project name is mutable, for the project ID is immutable, because you cannot change the project ID later. The project number is auto assigned by the Google. So because it is not a user choice, it is a Google choice, and it is cannot be changed later also. So that is something that it's a immutable also. So this is how whenever you wanted to create a project, you have three parameters. You have three parameters, sir. One is project name. It's a user choice, can be changed later. Project ID is a user choice, but cannot be changed later. Project number is a Google choice and cannot be changed later. So this is how we have three things here. So if you wanted to create a project, you must know these three parameters. So that is the reason I provided the project name. I have the project ID here, but I cannot see the project number, sir. Why? We cannot see the project number. Why? Can you guys guess it? It's because, yes, it's because it is auto assigned by the Google itself. So that's the reason whenever you click on create, it will be created. Okay, let me go here. See, the GCP DEVOPS project is getting created. Let's wait for some time. It might have created already. You can click on it here. So see here, guys, when you click on it, so this is your project name. This is your project name. This is your project number. As I told you, project number is this one, sir, which is auto assigned. And you have the project ID here. Okay, so either you can use project number or a project ID, which is a unique identifier. Project name can be changed later also, which is not a unique identifier, which can be similar for other projects also. But project ID and project number are different for each project. It's a unique identifier. So that is how we have here small thing. So if you wanted to work with Google Cloud, we must create the project. We must create the project and set up the project. So this is what is our first step. And then we need to enable or manage the enable and manage the billing. Enable billing and then manage the billing accounts. Manage the billing accounts. Billing. I would say manage the billing. Okay, so this is our second thing, sir. We need to enable the billing and manage the billing. So for any project in the Google Cloud platform, if you wanted to enable the billing, we should go to the billing section. So for me at this point of time, that billing section is not open. So I cannot be able to do it, guys. Maybe in our next session, I will show you because I cannot be able to. Okay, I have it here. So usually if you wanted to enable or disable the billing, you come here, you click on it, change billing. For you will be able to see enable option so that you can able to enable the billing. For this particular project now, the billing is disabled. So here you will be able to see whether the status of the billing is disabled or enabled for each project. You can come to the billing section and you can click on this project section. For each project, whether the billing is enabled or disabled, you can able to see it. And if you wanted to enable it or disable it, you can come here. You can click on these three dots. Disable billing means disabled. If you wanted to change the billing means enabled. Okay, so that is how it is. So this is where the location we have to enable or disable the billing. So because in any Google Cloud platform, if you don't enable the billing, so the billing is disabled. If I try to use any service, you can use the cloud storage after enabling the billing. Okay, because if the billing is not enabled, you can't use any other resource in the GCP. You can't use a service. You can't use it for your own benefit purpose. You can't use it anything without enabling the billing. So every service in the GCP is tracked by a billing only. So if you enable the billing only, you can able to work with it. Otherwise, you cannot be able to work with it. Okay, so you need to enable the billing and manage the billing. Managing the billing is something that page is not opening for me. In this particular thing, how to enable it and manage the billing, I will show you in the next class, guys. Okay, so I will also show you these things once we create an account. I will also show you one more time because my account is kind of freezed today, so not sure why. From the morning itself, it is now like that only. So first we create and set up the project, we enable and disable the billing. But you are getting the context, right? So that is important. I just wanted to give you the context today, so that in our upcoming sessions you will be able to easily understand the entire things. Now you enable and set up the project. Then you create and set up the project. You enable and manage the billing. So that is your second thing. And the third thing is that for few of the services, we need to enable the API. Not for all the services, but few of the services. Enable API. API for only few services, sir. Few services, not for all. Few services. because some services needs external connectivity. So those services, if you wanted to use, we may need to enable the API. So that needs to be just click on enable. That's it. Enabling the API does not take any much time, hardly 5 seconds, 10 seconds. When you click on enable, you can able to enable. You can able to use that. So in Google Cloud Platform, if you wanted to use few of the services, we need to enable the APIs. So this is also third thing. Earlier, when I opened the cloud storage, it might have asked, right? So enable the cloud compute engine if I asked. So if I try to access this cloud compute engine, so look at here. So when I wanted to work with the cloud computing engine, it will ask me the enable the API. See here, just click on enable the API. My account got freezed. That's the reason I cannot be enable the billing. So that's the reason I cannot be able to work with it. But so if you wanted to use it, you just have to click on enable. That's it. Nothing much. It takes 5 seconds, 10 seconds. After that, you can start using the service. So that is what we call as the enabling the billing, enabling the APIs. So if you wanted to use the few services, we need to enable the API. Now we wanted to perform these GCP activities, sir. We wanted to perform these GCP activities. So if you wanted to perform these GCP activities, can you guys tell me what are the interface methods we have it to interact with the GCP activities or GCP services? If you wanted to perform these GCP activities
Yes.
or DevOps activities, we need to
Right.
work with the GCP services, and we have total 3 methods are there. Can you guys tell me what are those 3 methods?
We have
Console, first one.
SDK console.
Correct. So we have 3 methods. One is console,
Second one is sale, cloud shell.
Cloud Shell,
Oh, shit.
And third one is the SDK, software development.
yes, DK, perfect. So these are the 3 methods that we have to interact with the GCP services. So this is how, if I wanted to work in the Google Cloud Platform, first what I will do, sir, I will create and set up the project, and then enable and manage the billing, enable the APIs for few services. Then using these services, I am going to interact with these multiple things. Okay, so this is how it works, guys. Yes, please. No, it's based on usage. So how much data you are storing, that's the cost. And how much computation you are using, again the cost. So based on the usage, pay as you go. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yes. Okay, so this is how the entire things that we should actually focus on. So if you wanted to work with GCP services, wanted to perform the GCP activities, so you are going to do all of these setup. And I will show you first. I will show you in our next class how to create an account. Once we set up the account, I will show you how to create a project, enable building APIs, and after that we will work on each and every service so that you will come to know how we are interacting with these methods. Okay. Yeah. So this is it, sir. Yeah. Any questions? Yes, please. Yeah. Yes. So that's what I'm telling you. They are providing you free. Okay. So here it is. So yeah. So they are providing you free trial account, which is of okay. Why? Okay. I would come here. Yeah. We have a free trial account of for 90 days, providing with almost $300 in credit. $300 in credit. Okay, so you can utilize these things for next 90 days. So this is maximum amount, sir. I'm telling you. So $300 is a very huge amount that they are telling. So almost it is 24,000 rupees. It is almost 24,000 rupees. So even 2 to 3 members also working on a one single account itself, they cannot be able to exhaust this entire money. Okay, so that is how. So they are going to provide you this free trial account, so you can able to it is valid up to 90 days, and there is no restriction on services. Okay, there is no restriction on the services. No restriction on the services. We can perform any activities. Okay, so this is how the free trial account works in the GCP. Okay, So 90 days validity, $300, and no restrictions on the service. Yeah. So yeah, for this one, if you wanted to create a free trial account, uh, free trial somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. So if you wanted to create a free trial account, so we need to have a dummy Google account and debit card or credit card with 2 rupees. Okay, for the verification purpose, you already know. So if you are a valid user or not, if the Google Cloud wanted to know, they are going to use the debit or credit card for valid verification purpose. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay. Okay, guys, I think this is it. I just don't wanted to bore you on in initial classes itself. So because we have a plenty of the things. So this is how hope you got some context on what is GCP, how to interact with the GCP, and the basic things like in Google Cloud Platform, the hierarchy is this one that you have a project, you have a building, you have a API, then you work with the different services. Okay. Yes. Any questions? Okay, so this is how we have completed our second demo as well, sir. So will be having
Excuse
our
me, sir.
regular sessions. Yes, please.
We'll be using the OpenShift interfaces for any kind of the deployment or not, like to
Sorry, your voice
build.
is kind of very low. Your voice is kind of very low. Can you talk a bit louder?
We'll be using the OpenShift interfaces for the deployment or building the creating the build config and the deployment purpose.
So we are using whatever the tech stack that I have mentioned. We are using those things like for the deployments and all of those things. We will be using most of the Google Cloud services, and we will also be
Okay.
using Jenkins, Ansible, and Terraform. So such kind of things. Okay, Docker Hub, GitHub, those things. But if you have some service, you are saying OpenShift. We are not using that particular service for this course. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all related to the GCP
Correct.
services.
Correct.
So GCP has on services for creating the pod and the deployment, the build config, all the things. Correct, sir?
So this course is going to be covered with the DevOps engineer as well as we are going to cover the architectural also. So okay, if you are a cloud architect, if you wanted to do some kind of a deployment, CI/CD, all of those things also covered here. The course content is for the DevOps as well as GCP admin and as well as cloud architect. Okay, those the course content is for all of these things. Maybe few concepts may not be covered for the cloud architect, but most of the concepts are covered here. Okay.
Okay, sir. So in this course, we'll be able to learn like any kind of the
Correct.
web application deployment, whether it
We
is
are
the
seeing
Python
that.
based
So
or
yeah.
Java based. If any Java based web application is there, so we'll be able to deploy it properly on the
Correct.
GCP and make it live, right?
Correct. We are yes. So you will be able to see that because that's our end project that we are going to cover. Two things on the web. I will be creating. So you'll be able to go to that web link and you will be able to create. I'm creating a Swiggy application. So okay, I'll show you. So what we are going to do. Not here. Yeah, here. So at the end of our sessions, I think. Okay, not this one. Yes. Yes, I will share it with you guys. So this one we are going to have it implemented end-to-end cafe web application deployment. We are going to manually deploy. We are going to deploy it with these services, and we are going to. If you go to this particular web link, you will be able to have this web application open for you. Similarly, for the Swiggy web application, also we are going to deploy it end-to-end. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, using these
Sir,
things. Yeah.
suppose I have created a web development
Okay.
app using the Java and the React. Okay, and
We
after
are
that,
not so much interested in Java or Node.js. We will be using multiple applications, Python or
okay.
Java
So
or Node.js. Yeah.
Suppose we have created any web application using Java, React, or Angular with combination of the any UI framework and the backend framework, and after that we have created a web application. So we'll be able to deploy it on the GCP by creating our own
Correct.
CI/CD. So it
Correct. We
doesn't
are going
matter.
to CI/CD only. Yes, we are going to create it. This is an end-to-end CI/CD where we are using it for the Compute engine, Kubernetes engine, Jenkins for the automation, GitHub for the version control, Terraform for the infrastructure, containerization, Docker, vulnerability with the trivia scanner, and SonarQube for the code quality analysis. So all of these things are covered. Okay,
Okay, so
so
it's
it's an end-to-end
language
solution.
independent, language independent from the web application. It doesn't
Correct.
matter
Whether it
on
is a
which.
Java or Python or anything, we are not worried about because we are not a developer. We are not developing. If the
Okay,
code is already available, we are focusing on the deployment of that end-to-end
okay.
CI/CD. Yes. So yeah, someone is asking to share this one. So 1 minute, guys. So let me gonna share this course content with all of you guys. So in the chart, okay, not here. I think it's not getting uploaded to the chart. Okay, 1 minute. What I can do? Yeah, click on that document, course content. Yeah, one shared. Okay, second shared. Yep, for the third. Yeah, it's already shared. Yeah. Okay, okay, guys. This is it. So, but
Uh,
from next class onwards, it will be a 2.5 hour session, guys. Maybe I'm taking today and tomorrow is the demo session. So that's the reason I took 1.5 hour session. Maybe next time onwards, 2 hours, at least 2 hour sessions we will be covering, and we will be starting our regular sessions also. I will also telling you how to create an account. Okay. Yep.
yes,
And
I have a question I was gonna ask because I see it said DevOps is GCP and 12 weekend. So it will be
correct.
only on weekend or
It's only on weekends, yes, guys. So it's
it's
only
only
on
on weekend?
weekends.
Okay,
Yes, yes. It's only on weekends and Saturday, Sunday,
okay,
2.5 hours. Total 5 hours per week. Yeah.
okay
One
then.
more, one more thing,
Yes,
sir.
please.
I would like to ask. What will be the level of this course? Like, it will be only big for beginner or intermediate, or it
No,
will
this
be
is
the
a very good
advanced
course.
level?
I would say with a 3 years of experience guy who is working on the GCP DevOps, you are going to get that much level of experience. 3 years
Okay,
of experience. So you can put it in your resume like you have worked on GCP DevOps for 3 years. Because
okay.
we are going to cover such kind of knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, so after completing this course, I will be able to work on the
At the interviews, yes.
enterprise level application. We'll be able to build all the CI/CD, and we'll be able to create the
Yes,
all the
so he will
infrastructure.
be. So the thing is that it totally depends on the two things because I am giving you 70% of the knowledge because 30% on depends on you that how you are taking the course and implementing. Every day, if you are practicing and whatever I am saying, for sure you will be able to do the deployment. Any application you take it, any code base you can take it, you can able to do the deployment. Okay, so that's all. Again, every day you have to practice it properly because every topic is different. Every topic we are going to cover one by one, and by the end of the
Hmm.
sessions, people are forgetting the beginning session. So that's all. Practicing makes you perfect, and you'll be able to use it with deployments because it's a learning by doing concept only. It's not something that we are theoretically covering. Everything is practical only here.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Yes. Okay, so for those people, if you guys wanted to enroll for the course, guys, it is for the next Saturday, Sunday. If you wanted to attend the sessions, you need to do the enrollment for this for course. So if you wanted to do the enrollment, you connect with the admin team, and they will help you how to do the enrollment for this course, so that next class you can again attend this session. Saturday and Sunday we will be having our session started. Okay, so this is how you need to do the enrollment for this particular course, guys. Yep. Okay,
Okay,
so this is it, guys. So complete your registration so that we can have a uninterrupted sessions every weekend. Okay, yeah. Okay, guys. So this is it. Hope you have liked the sessions. So if any of your friends are also looking for GCP DevOps, please refer them as well. Okay, yeah. Thank you all.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Duration is 3 months, guys. Duration is 3 months.
One more question, sir. Last question
Yes, please.
from my side.
Yeah.
So I'm a developer. My background is the Java development. So how this course will be helpful for
If
me
you
for
wanted to
the
become a
development?
DevOps engineer, this course is for you. Whether you are a developer or anyone you are, you, sir, I wanted to come to the DevOps engineering background. So you come. This is a course for you to start a new DevOps engineer role. You can appear for the interviews, get a job in the DevOps. So that's how people do it, right? So that's how the tech stack people attend, right? So, sir, I'm working in some testing. Sir, I don't want to work in testing. I wanted to come to the development, or I wanted to come to the DevOps engineer. So they learn some course, get attend skills, and they can attend for the interview. They crack it, they become a DevOps engineer. So such kind of a course is this one only.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye bye. We'll meet done next weekend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye bye. Take care, guys.